Greetings, fellow travelers, and welcome to The Way of the Showman, where we view the world through the lens of showmanship. I am Captain Frodo, and I will be your host and your guide along the way. Today we get back with Hoverfiel, the Headmaster of Pain, the Norwegian pioneer of sideshow and pain-proof performance. And those of you who have been frequent travelers of the way, you know that I spent many years dedicated to being a freak show performer. Performed in a kamikaze freak show and read widely in sideshow and freak show literature. And then we started our own sideshow called the Happy Sideshow. And some of the first inspirations for this came from meeting Håvve. He was the first performer that was performing this kind of material that I met when I went to Oslo in the early 90s. So he was definitely a big inspiration on me, as we touched on last time. And today we're going to see how he developed all of this into some quite unusual ways. Talk a little bit more about books, his publishing, and also, his great collaboration with his sister, that is an amazing photographer. And today I had hoped that we're going to have time to talk about his festival or convention that he put on several years in a row called Wings of Desire, a body suspension festival. And for those who aren't fully into the body modification, all that, it was a coming together of individuals who were interested in having being lifted with hanging, suspended in hooks from their flesh. And I remember, when I first discovered this was something very new. And we talk about Fakir, we talked about that last time, but how that image was so powerful. And Håvve then went on to become quite the authority on this. And I don't know how many, and unfortunately we didn't get to talk to that, but that is what we will talk about the next time I talk to him. But we're talking about the steps that leads up to it in one of the most extraordinary sideshow and Fakir artists that had ever come out of Norway. Let's hear more what Håvve has to tell us about his rich and extraordinary life as an artist. But just before that, I will just ask you to, wherever it is that you get these podcasts, follow us. It would be really great to have my episodes come down in your feed without having to remind you. You are awesome, and I would like to have you as a follower of The Way of the Showman on a regular basis. So click follow, find us on Instagram, and follow us there as well. My book has just been finished, and very soon I'll be sending out some messages. So if I could do that through some of those channels, then that would be great. So I always do this. I do the whole intro, and then I tell you these things. So now, let's, as always, jump back into today's conversation. The seasons that you guys did, no doubt also it shaped what was about to come. The language that you were using and the equipment and the broken glass and all these things, when you started to find a form of pain solution, which I guess is, haven't found a way to express. You're not compromising on the material that you're doing. You were still doing needles and blood and broken glass and beds on nails and machetes. It was still, but the change was to make it find a form for it so that it was reaching the general public and not just a niche audience, kind of. So yeah, it's really interesting this how you were doing these individual works, which in many ways was pushing your art further as well. Like those early productions that you did must have also somehow been the seeds of what was to come.
No, it was and the goal was to do both, like parallel. But then also, long story, at some point Paolucci had overstayed his welcome in Norway. He's from Brazil. He hadn't applied for a residency, and he was shipped back to Brazil. And I found myself alone, which made like the physical theater format impossible. And then I really dove into making like a 30-minute show, 40-minute show solo that I could carry by myself and commercially sell, because I'd rather struggle to make that work than to find whatever job.
You just dropped out there, but yeah, finding another job. I mean, me and Jay Gillian talk about this a lot. Just how the need of shows to be a two-hander, meaning that you can carry the show with your two hands into the gig. You don't have to, it's like if you do have to get on a train, you can maneuver your stuff and bring it to the gig. Or if you have in a car, that you don't have to park the car, take the gear in, and go back to the car and go back out and leaving your gear inside. It's I think those are what do you call it? Just constrictions, but kind of positive constrictions in a way that makes you a commercial artist, even when your material is quite crazy. If you can fulfill those criteria, then at least you have a better chance of functioning in a sort of gig economy.
Yeah. And I think in the 90s, it was still possible to travel with excess luggage if you were a musician or if you were an artist. So I would fall into that category, and, I would have my excess luggage. For a while there, I think I was traveling around with like 50 or 60 kilos of luggage, which I could hardly carry by myself for a short distance. But then when they started charging for the excess luggage, then it became a challenge to bring it down to 22 kilos or what you were allowed to included in your luggage allowance.
Yeah.
So at some point I had custom made, my tiny bed of nails with the 12 nails, which are quite big. I had them custom made in titanium to reduce the weight of that particular prop.
Yeah, wow.
So there's all this. Yeah, but anyway, so second half of 90s was when geared more and more towards sideshow, but I wasn't too keen on like the classic American sideshow style with the barker talking. And of course, we had the Jim Rose circus sideshow coming around in the early 90s or mid 90s, and everybody was like, oh. And when I saw them, I was like, yeah, some good parts in there, and there's a couple of good acts, but most of it is illusion and bullshit and lies. And no, Pain Solution will never fucking do illusions. Not like keeping it real became a slogan.
Yeah, that's right. Your badges used to say that, keeping it real since 1993.
Yeah. And of course, I was also at some point looking into magic and studying a little bit of magic. But then it's like, no, if I start mixing magic into this, then people will think everything is an illusion. But there was some illusions that I wanted to bring into more theatrical pieces that never happened, that were just like shelved because it didn't get funding, or it was too impossible to achieve.
Yeah.
So a lot of the ambitions. I have like written several shows that I wanted to produce, including other artists and actors and skills, in a more theatrical form. You need time to produce it, you need a stage to perform it, and you sell tickets. But I never managed to get funding for any of that.
Yeah.
So somewhere in my archives, there's like books and books of notes
and scripts and
scripts and stuff that.
Yeah. Because you were one of the interested. That was also because Jim Rose doing the traditional style of one guy talking and selling the acts or whatever, and you guys always used music as your sort of the sound. So you did choreography or sequential stuff where you were doing not necessarily dance choreography, but like we bring the buckets out here, we'd smash the glass until now, and we go. So you have these loose or strict structures, but that didn't follow the music like a dancer would, but it would still be somewhat choreographed to the tracks.
And like, so the whole show track would be one mix.
Yeah.
Of different songs mixed. And there would be, segues out of one act into another.
Yeah.
Musical interludes. And everything on musical cues.
Yeah.
Which worked a lot better than live musicians because they were predictable.
Yeah.
As long as the CD would play.
No, that's true. Yeah. Every now and then you'd get the because you'd had the CD in your bag, but it's an because what that did was that it gave you a really different sort of expression. It forced you into a much more sort of visual language, I think, where if you're driven by words and somebody doing the hype with the audience, it's different than when you're creating stuff that's going to a track. Like, so you guys always had such interesting, it's such an interesting visual vocabulary that you didn't see in most sideshow acts or sideshows.
I think also a lot of sideshow performers then and now, what annoys me the most in that profession is the lack of character work. Because if you're preaching to the choir, they will go crazy. Whoever you are, taking your shirt off and doing whatever impressive. But if you want to also get the regulars, the people who aren't specifically interested in sideshow or that type of entertainment to get interested, you need to intrigue them with a character, and with however loose or abstract storyline, and also of course the first, I guess, many years of doing more of the sideshow style, I would attract a part of the crowd and disgust the other half.
Yeah.
And this is also somewhat, I think, both annoying and misleading in the sideshow universe, that people like aim to make people uncomfortable, to aim to make them puke and pass out. And so, if you make your audience puke and pass out, they will never go back and see another sideshow again.
Yeah.
But if you make them laugh and then find it hard to watch all the stuff, they will leave that show having had a good time. Challenging, yes, but a good time overall.
Mm.
And that's how they will promote you and any other sideshow to their friends.
Yeah. I think that's
just on the shock factor, relying just on that, and that's too easy.
It feels to me like this is level 1, and it's if you just rely on the shock factor of putting a pin in your neck or whatever, if that's what you got, then you're on level 1. Because if you take a pin in your neck, show it to someone, and they are shocked or think that it looks full on, then nobody has learned something. It's like if I'm going to put this pin through my neck and you're going to find it uncomfortable, and it's not going to look pretty, and then you do it, and then they go, yeah, you did that, and it was I kind of didn't want to watch it, and now I've done, and I feel bad about it. So now there's been no subversion, no And then it's like a movie, which is like a boy meets girl, falls in love, get married, the end. That's not a story that sells tickets. It's boy meets girls, come from two different families that are arch enemies, and in the end they both take poison due to Hey?
Yeah, add some drama.
Yeah, exactly. And when you can get them, whether it is with comedy or it is with, because character in a sense is like the first form of drama. If you just have, or of narrative even, if you just have a strong character that comes into the space, then just that is enough to go, what is this character going to do? And the character doesn't have to be like you come in and you're going, oh, it's a car mechanic, or like it's just that you come in with a person that seems to be not just a simple caricature, but has enough of character built in that you want to, and you're interested in this person. That's like the first step of the narrative. And then what you want is not that it's predictable. You want it to be, inevitable what goes on. You are going to put the thing through your neck, but you somehow also want it to be surprising. So if you can do this and the music change and you follow it and then it turns out that there was some beauty in it, or there's something else, it was funny, that was something else that you didn't expect, then you have created a full kind of experience and what movies and what general storytelling is about. So I'm fully behind you, and we're similar in there that I mean, maybe I was interested in being funny more from the start and you were drifted. Hey?
Yeah, way before me. And it was like, I remember in the early days, somebody had seen my like very dark and ritualistic performance, and he said, you know what would be really good for your shows, add some comedy to it. You think I'm trying to be funny? Do you think that this is supposed to be a laughing matter? No, fuck you, man. This is serious shit. But then, of course, when I actually discovered comedy and started using adding comic relief to some of the very hardcore stuff that I was doing, that was a really big game changer, I think. And then when I really went for, like, when I created the Fakir Academy and the Headmaster character, which was, I think, as much of a clown as a Fakir.
Yeah.
And that's when I've fully brought on slapstick humor and kind of taking a piss on myself while still doing pretty hardcore and amazing stuff. But it made it so much more accessible to people. And also what I, like, parallel to this, discovered, which was, I wish I discovered long before. Like, if you want to do a show which includes blood, which pretty much was a staple for any pain solution shows, except when it was for children.
Yeah.
Or specifically asked for a show with no blood. Easy, just leave out the pin cushion and maybe the broken glass, because that was kind of a slippery slope, whether it's going to be some blood or not. But otherwise, we can do a show with no blood. But then, I used to have maybe like several acts that would include bleeding. Because the broken glass act, I would break bottles on stage, add to the pile of broken glass, and I would pick up a shard and cut myself to prove it's real. And on the machetes, I would take one of the machetes and cut my arm to prove they're sharp. And then, of course, when the needles comes out after the pincushion act, so there was like so much blood, and it's off-putting to many people. just a fact. Whether or not you can say, but hey, just blood. Yeah, easy for us. But then in the latest season of Pain Solution, so to speak, it was I would always leave out the blood till the very end, and then bring the people on this journey where they first, the first acts are silly, and they get more and more advanced, more and more impressive in terms of like how painful and skillful they are. But throughout, always comic relief, always make people laugh. From the get-go, the intro. You enter the stage, making people laugh because you enter as a silly character.
Mm.
And then when you push needles through your face and you make funny faces at the same time, not like the face that shows it how painful it are, but like laughing and smiling while doing something obviously quite painful. You create this mixed emotion that we call what we call it in Norwegian. Oh, fuck. I forgot my own language.
Ja, blanda følelser.
Hæ?
Blanda følelser.
Ikke skadefryd, men
Ja.
Anyway. And then at the very end, when people have kind of fallen in love with the character and been like accepting more and more, and it's like, yeah, do you want more? Yeah, do you want more? Yeah, do you want blood? Yeah, I guess.
I didn't know that that's where this was leading, but now I guess so, because that's the next. This is the next step. I mean, something about that as well, though. I haven't seen you do that, and they do it, and then when you then go in and you're pulling out the pins that you got in your forehead, which was almost, it was a sure bleeder, and then you have blood on your face. Big disgrace. It's something about that when they've asked about that, and what you do is kind of, it's also going weirdly in reverse, because you've put pins in yourself, you've had them in, and when you pull the pins out, which is sort of, that should be the relief also somehow. It should be, well, now it's okay again as well, weirdly. And you're pulling the pins out, and for a moment, you think maybe it's fine, and then comes the blood. So it's this weird thing. They've asked for it, and then you pull it out, and you're not going more extreme by shoving more in. You're just starting to remove it. So there's something in that as well that I always found fascinating, where do you want it to be go more crazy, and then you actually start to undress or make it less painful, but now you somehow, what you get to see is the consequences or something, or which it's
at this also latest stage of Pain Solution, there was a lot of talking. I would have a talking character and introduce, if I was working with the others in Pain Solution, like the Princess of Scars and the Maniac, I would introduce their acts, and there would be many puns and silliness and jokes in the spoken words.
Also, just in the nature of most sideshow stunts, it has the potential to be incredible setups for punchlines. If you think that one of the fundamental aspects of what comedy is that you're building up some sort of tension and then you release it. You're saying one thing and then you twist it. So it's like there's some sort of twist, and somehow if you say you're going to put the pin through your head, and before you put it through your skin, there's so much tension that the littlest thing can also be such a big comic relief. You're going and you just look and haven't done it yet, and you just go, ow. And then everyone just laughs because it's so much tension. So there's a inherent kind of tension release that is visual or the anticipation of pain, or the general thing of theater with action reaction. There's so many of those aspects that like are lending themselves to just pausing, just having a look before or after, or a reaction to the pain can make it makes jokes possible that don't exist but for the relationship to the pain, and your relationship to the pain, or your relationship to the audience who's watching this. Or so there's so many, like, because of course it's the puns and the jokes and the talking that you guys later on started to include, but so much comedy as well. Like last year, I mean, I've seen the Maniac perform. He's still performing, and we were doing a festival, or whenever it was, and just seeing him do his balloon swallow act or whatever, and it's just like, and he lifts things with his balls, and it's all like, it's, in one way it is so full on, yet the material is sideshow, yet you're still somehow going. It's still some bizarre comedy act, actually. Like, what's the emotion that goes through? It's this entertainment by unease. And I mean, that came through you, and I mean, that especially that last iteration as well, when your character changed to become the headmaster and all of this. By that point, was that when you started doing that? Was that when you started talking?
I probably played around with it a bit before.
Yeah.
But when I started the Fakir Academy, and I had like I took on students full time.
And when was that? Because we're jumping like a decade ahead, or I don't know. Because
2007.
2007, yeah. And the last stuff we talked about, you and Paolucci anyway, here in Haugesund, that was 96, and you guys did some stuff after that. But anyway, that was a bit of a jump forward. But yeah, so just since we're there, like, because that lasted for quite a while as well, and was a real interesting evolution of what you guys did.
Yeah, it was. I think after I lost Paolucci, I was solo for quite a while, and I did audition a few different people I thought might be, potential people to bring on that could learn if they would be interested enough and had the knack for it. But nah. So I just came to terms that okay, Pain Solution is a solo project now, and I would develop a little bit of my own material, but it was pretty much the same character and the same acts, and maybe I would change the music and change the choreography a bit and add something new or take something out. But then the whole story with the Fakir Academy, that's also, it's a long story that led up to it, but ended up with me taking on 3 students.
Because were you like, it was kind of official in some sense. So did you get money to organize it, or what was like? Because it was how did you find those 3 people? Because they all had. How did you find them?
So there's a whole chapter on Fakir Academy in the second Pain Solution book, To Bleed or Not to Bleed.
Yeah.
Trying to summarize it very shortly, I was approached by Barnevernet, Child Care Unit.
Yeah, Child Protective Services.
Child Protective Services. Asking if I knew of some kind of classes or education for a young teenager, like in his late teens, because he had self-harm issues and other issues going on, and they tried to find some activity for him. And he said, the only thing I want to do is to become like this guy, and he pointed to a poster of me in his room from a show where I was like blood pouring down my torso. So they figured, let's contact that guy and see if he can point us in some kind of direction. And of course, there is no such school, like there's some maybe sideshow schools in the US, But they're made basically mostly like weekend classes where you learn some practical skills, but not performing as such. So I was not not really, but and then they said, yeah, could you offer something like something? So I went to the institution where he was at, and I met up with him, and we discussed and talked, and then I started working with him as like a contact that he would. So I would spend like 24 hours with him once a week, and he'd stay over at my place, and just like to get to know him. And then I was figuring out that okay, I can take this guy on as an apprentice. But then I've never really had an apprentice that comes from no knowledge, no skill, to educate. You know, where do I start? Or how do I approach this apprenticeship? So through the Child Protective Circuit Services, I got like they paid me to be his primary contacts, and I helped him find a place to live, and then I started the school. The Fakir Academy, then I think it's easier for me to work with a small group than to just one-on-one.
Yeah.
So I recruited, the Maniac was already doing some freak show, sideshow kind of stuff, but was totally falling for that classical trap that you just do it for the shock value and no character, no. But he was good. He had potential, so I said, "Hey, you want to become a student of mine, and I'll teach you so much more than just like the skills you have." And also Marte, the Princess of Scars, which I knew from suspension. And I had also met up with her outside of the suspension to talk, because she had like some severe self-harm issues and a backstory. And I was trying to help her out, kind of find the way of coming to terms with who you are and not be living a life in shame. And from suspension, I knew she had pain tolerance. Definitely didn't have to teach her anything there. So she accepted. So then I had 3 students with different, like all of them, very different backgrounds, similarities in self-harm, interested in pain. And so I kind of developed their characters, their base characters, which in they were to work. So the Princess of Scars, and there was I started off with like there's like everybody needs to learn the human blockhead, fire eating, and the bed of nails. So going through the technical, teaching them that. And then as a homework assignment, find a piece of music and an approach to each of these 3 skill sets, and try and make it your act. Don't copy anything you've seen. Don't copy what you've seen me do. Don't go online and find a video on YouTube and make another person's blockhead act. Create yours and spin it around. Yeah, you're the bad boy. You're the Princess of Scars. You're the maniac. You know, find your blockhead act. Find your bed of nail act. Find your fire eating act. And I would help them. You know, they would come back with the music and they would show an idea. And then I could start to mold and choreograph. And then also they would learn like the creative process of creating the act.
Yeah, creating structure, shaping the character, and improving the material, and finding skills adjacent to what they're doing. Well, if this is now we see something, and maybe we would go. Yeah, I mean, it's
So the school as such wasn't funded, but I had some base money from that one student, because
Okay,
of
yeah.
course like, then I got paid to give him an education, and then some school money, and then I ended up being his like 24/7 caretaker.
Yeah. Wow.
So like teaching him to live on his own and everything. Yeah, so that was an interesting period. And then, of course, I would expand on different skills, and they would get to homework to study specific performers or historic characters. You know, the Human Fountain, Mirindajo. You know, go online, search up these names, find what information you can get, write a resume, bring it back. So they would also get like a historical perspective. And we would watch videos of other performers and you know, that the acts and the work, and we would have acting classes and yoga classes, and of course yeah, so I rented like a tiny building which was the school, so we made the like on school days we would take turns in making dinner.
Yeah.
So especially for like bad boy, who was, after he moved out from his parents or his mother, he moved into an institution. Yeah, you need to learn how to cook, dude. You know.
Yeah. I
So
keep thinking of you have the two dimension in the showman. You have the show aspect, and that's what he's interested in and driven towards. But and there's the man aspect too, the human part of it, where there's all the stuff that are just regular life. So you had to really dig into that side of it, too.
Yeah. And yeah, so it was at least the first year was very holistic in terms of and then of course they also got to come out in the field and do gigs, you know, well, on occasion, and we would put up like half-term, mid-term shows at the school, invite friends and family to watch the show. And then at the end of the first year, that was actually one of the first times I got some real funding from like the Arts Council, where like the Fakir Academy's exam was the title of the theatrical piece.
Oh yeah.
But it was also in fact their exam.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And everybody played their characters. So yeah, it was a pretty good times.
It's really interesting as well. I mean, because I can't help but just drawing that parallel when somebody who is already interested in this stuff and he's got a picture of his on his wall. It's a little bit like you, late 90s, finding the Mustafa interview and the pictures, and you sort of go, oh, there's someone there. But this other guy, he had someone there that then turned out to be within reach, so that you could actually be there with someone that would place. Because this is an incredible, interesting area. People who are dealing with self-harm, how did they later on, after being with you, how did that change their relationship towards what they were doing?
It's like self-harm as in the whole, as a topic and issue it's very complicated and very large topic. And I have studied self-harm behavior quite a bit out of curiosity, and also along the way of the line of work that I've been in, I've come across people with self-harm issues that has taken this particular interest, and sometimes they have tried to impress me by cutting themselves in front of me. And it's like, wait, hold on, you know, it's like let's talk about this instead. And for a while, I was also giving talks at conferences and seminars about self-harm for healthcare personnel and psychiatry personnel, and I would angle it as like positive sides with self-harm.
Interesting.
Because
wasn't this first book of yours published by some sort of psychiatry publication?
And I met them through this seminar. I was giving a talk, and they were like, "Hey, and they were also like publishing stuff, and they you should publish some of your right." And I said, actually, so it wasn't the kind of book they were thinking about, but they took me up on it. So for a few years there, I was doing a lot of these talks, and it was very interesting. Also how I was met, because some people would just, why the fuck are we listening to this old punk? Talking about positive sides of self-harm. It's like, and others would be like, here's an aspect we haven't thought of.
Yeah.
And what I explain to them is like, when I meet self-harmers and talk to them, because of my profession, I understand the physiological effects of what they're doing. I can understand the effects of their self-medication through self-harm. Whereas you meet them with just disgust on you see the blood and you see the scars and you see the wounds, and you tell them to stop. And it's like, well, how many in this room are smoking cigarettes daily? But maybe half the crowd would put their hand up and say, yeah, you're all self-harmers. If you put it into a perspective. And how many times have your spouse or your children or your parents or your friends told you, you need to quit smoking, you have to stop that? And you have to stop, it's not good for you, but you can't just stop because someone's telling you.
Yeah.
And if people insist too much in making you stop, you stop. You don't want to see them, you don't want to talk to them. So, it's like understanding why self-harm is a go-to for people in the first place, and that it's a symptom of many potential diagnoses, not necessarily a bad thing to do for them. It's like somebody taking away your red wine when you need that. You want that glass of red wine after work when you come home to relax and wind down and soothe yourself. For some people, it's the bleeding. For some people, it's the sensation of pain. For some people, it's the care they will get afterwards when they have to show up at the ER. It's not just one thing.
It's interesting also when you said it just struck me that the average whoever healthcare worker that would be confronted by somebody who's doing self-harm meets them like a general audience meets the Fakir. You get met with level 1 reaction: shock, disgust, stop, I turn away, I find you revolting, all this, and that's just written across their face. So when they are talking to you about it and they go, oh, I cut my arm like this, and then you can go, well, here's a picture of me when I'm cut to shreds and I'm hanging in some meat hooks and all that. So we're in the same level here, like you are being heard in a way. And sometimes people, so much positive comes from just being seen and really being seen and really being heard, and that you are not an other in there. Like when they're telling you, you're going, we're speaking the same language. I have somehow mastered it and made it into my art, and that's really interesting because
we can sit across the table, and I would have as many scars as they have or more. It's like, we can discuss this on a different level, and that's I think what I can try to come across with to the healthcare, like. If you meet them with hostility or even the attitude of your priority is making them stop harming themselves, you're shut the door. They're not interested in talking to you because you don't understand shit.
Yeah.
So before don't make that your first priority to make them stop, because that's their survival skill. Self-harmers are not suicidal. Some die by accident because they go too deep or in the wrong place. But most of them are actually surviving because they're self-harming. Because that's the only thing that gives them release. Relieves the real pain, which is deep inside their psyche. So, you need to start from a very different end if you are at all wanting to help.
Yeah. I mean, that's it's a powerful position to be in, and just an unbelievable turn of events too. How a kid who's got a poster on the wall of someone, but at that point you were probably no more than a kind of a concept, because maybe he saw you, maybe whatever that is, but you got this poster and it somehow is meaningful to him. And then that the Child Protective Services, which is maybe they have some room to help by the time you have gone through and failed many other things. Maybe there's but that unorthodox approach to it of him being with you. It's such an amazing turn of events.
Yeah, it was, but also in retrospect, it was in the end, like after in the second year of the academy, I had to terminate him.
Yeah, right.
After multiple second chances and third chances and fifth chances and last chances, because there was violence, there was drugs, there was a level of psychiatry that I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah, I mean,
not capable of handling.
Of course.
And of course, I wanted to really put my method to the test.
Yeah.
And see if I could rehabilitate, this person, keeping out of jail and out of abuse, drug abuse, and away from turning to violence by, turning that violent behavior towards yourself.
Taming the dragon somehow, yeah.
Yeah. And he had a lot of skill and he had potential and he had some really sweet sides to him. But at the end of the day, he was a psychopath.
Yeah.
And then it's it wasn't stable. So, but the other two, and so this thing of which I also know for myself, at the time at least, I need painful experiences to be part of my life, whether or not I have a crisis, whether or not I can't cope with life. It's but if I do it in a healthy way, and if I can turn it into a profession, and if I can entertain people with my need for pain and make money, I can be proud of my scars. This was the process for the Princess of Scars, who was living in shame of her body and her scars and her everything. There's no reason to try become normal, because who wants to be normal anyway? That's boring. You cherish your difference, and and with other people also that wasn't like students as such, but people with self-harm issues coming to do body suspension, finding that, oh, I can go suspend from hooks on a regular basis, and this prevents me from needing to cut myself. You know, but of course it doesn't work for everyone, because for some people it's that this is the only thing I can control.
Yeah,
it's my own pain, like physical pain, and make a distraction from the pain inside.
Yeah.
So it's very complex, but and of course the maniac, wasn't self-harming in like the traditional ways we look at self-harm, but yeah, reckless driving, reckless behavior, you know, coming up with stupid ideas that may cause injury, which is like an undervalued way of self-harm among young men. You know, getting into
making poor choices.
Yeah, making poor choices, risky behavior.
Yeah.
Instead of like taking a blade to your arm or thigh, or all the places people can reach with a sharp object to cut themselves, you'd be amazed.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's a really complicated area, and self-harming is often it's a symptom. And like just you talking about in those 3 people that you had close contact with over a few years, even with each one having such different starting points. And of course, there will be some that actually manage to gain their self-confidence or manage to transform reckless behavior into becoming an extraordinary artist. But some will also suffer such complicated issues that they need more help than you. Even though I mean, it's like, because there's some serious issues out there. So of course that's going to happen. Like, you can't help everyone, but so much, again, like if you're having issues, just being seen as being normalized by being around a few more people. Like you saw Muzaffar and goes, okay, no, this is an actual mode of expression. It's a valid thing in the world, and then you fit in. And what did that do? We don't know, but what that did for your self-worth and your place in the world of confidently being, no, this is what I do, and that's a powerful thing.
Yeah, and also for me, like my starting point was I didn't come from shame.
Yeah,
I just couldn't explain people what I was doing and why. But yeah, this position of being able to help others with my experience was really a privilege. Yeah, for a period of time there, I was like putting a lot of time and effort into, moving more in that direction, and working with health, like psychiatry. But of course, it's very unorthodox, and very few would like take it seriously. But particularly one like very profiled psychiatrist in Norway, he would sometimes refer patients to me.
Wow,
not like
conversations.
But yeah, like seeing people with self-harm issues and suggesting maybe you should try a suspension. You should contact Håvve. Here's his number.
Yeah.
So
that's one of the things that would shock most people too. Like, even if you got cutting issues or whatever it is that your self-harm is, then you go, all right, like there's this guy who can safely, hygienically put hooks in you and lift you up into the air, suspended from your own flesh. A lot of the people that will jump steps ahead to what they thought was possible, or what this thing was, or like this is put into some sort of system. It's put into a context. It has connection into culture and anthropology, and it has all this, and all of a sudden you're finding yourself in a world that for many could, make sense of the world, or so, find different expressions out. And it would be shocking as well, I would think, to most even regular self-harmers who are doing it out of a compulsion, not based on an understanding of that there are actually ways that these things are mapped. People have walked these paths before, both for all kinds of reasons. To meet someone else and gone, you could hang on these hooks, that must have been quite of a jolt.
Yeah. So through also the suspension work, there has been quite a few self-harmers has come with active self-harm practice and found the segue out of it through suspension. Others who are no longer with us because they ended their lives dramatically. So it's not when it comes to these issues, it's like it's not one medicine cures all.
No, but neither is.
But the baseline is like what's the reason behind the self-harm, which needs to be addressed before you even start discussing self-harm methods. But that was kind of my thing. Maybe I can help people finding safer ways of inflicting the pain. Maybe you give them a box of hypodermic needles that are clean instead of whatever random razor blade they can come across.
Yeah, I mean, this is some extreme territory, but of course it's psychiatry. The most advanced whatever is going on in psychiatry too is also never this is what's going on. Actually, here's the pill. Don't worry, 100%. It's always it's combination of talk therapy and talking with people and with giving medicines, and between many different things in trying to get the balance and whatnot. So yours is but one tool then in the toolbox, of course.
Yeah, and you can't turn every self-harmer into a sideshow performer.
No, because that would be bad for us. Like, what will we do then? We'll flood the market.
And so 2 out of 3 was really beneficial for them, and the Maniac is still active and performing and has like his own thing going now. Princess of Scars has retired as well, but also for health reasons. And the bad
That's great. He fell off the wagon, or he's in prison. Yeah, well, there you go. They came to you to hope that didn't happen, and at least it didn't happen during the time he was with you. But anyway, so what can you do?
Managed to get the school project approved as an alternative to jail.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow. Oh, interesting. Wow.
Where we also I had to go with him every week to the
all the stuff.
Department, fengselsomsorgen.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. The prison systems, whatever. Like, yeah.
Because he was young and everybody knew that he would not be reformed in prison. He would probably become worse.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was worth a try, but it took a toll. And
of course.
Unfortunately, like this very long chapter I wrote on him for To Bleed or Not to Bleed could not be printed.
Yeah, right.
There's a taushetsplikt.
Yeah, that's right. Because you were actually responsible for him in some sort of official capacity. So now this is like sealed records, or
talk freely. But of course, I'm not mentioning names, and those who know who we're talking about knows what's the full story.
Yeah.
And those who doesn't know, it was just a case.
It's just man.
Not to worry, but
2 out of 3. That's also not bad.
No, I reckon that's pretty much the average from any higher education.
Yeah. That's great.
And I think Marte and Morten, aka Princess of Scars and the Maniac, are the only two, at least in Norway, who's graduated with a bachelor in pain.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. And we've been going for 2 hours now, and I wanted to talk about Ringen and your ventures into the art world. But I think we can put a pin in it now, because we got that, and even talking about your body suspension festivals. I think we should do that at another time.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back on your very good podcast and talking more about my past.
Awesome. And then, like you said, talk about the zines coming out now, and the next chapter, showing old sideshow people who's sitting around the world in pain or whatnot, and that there is ways to reinvent yourself, that there might be a meaningful and interesting life even after the show curtain has gone down.
So just as a little teaser on present day, I now have a small stage in my garden, and I'm hosting shows on occasion during summer. So for any sideshow performer in particular that might be listening, if you're coming to or wanting to come to Oslo, please take contact, because I'm pretty much the only sideshow stage in Oslo at present.
Awesome. I'm hoping to get to grace that stage myself soon as well.
I hope so.
Awesome.
Open invitation.
Awesome. It was a pleasure talking to you, and thanks for coming on.
Likewise. Thank you for really taking me on.
All right, folks, that was the second and final of this installment of Conversations with Håvve. He has so much more to offer, and I am looking forward to continuing this conversation in the future. Yeah, really interesting this episode. I thought of the work that he did with young people that needed some help, and a very real life thing too. Like it's how much heart and hard work you put into it. It's not an easy game to win, but 2 out of 3, that is very good in my book. It's just a great example of how the passion that we performers have for our craft, and how that can make a difference beyond just having people have a fun time in the moment. So with that said, I urge you to follow us, follow the podcast, have it come down, subscribe to it, and find us on Instagram as The Way of the Showman. And on top of that, why don't you maybe send an email? Tell me what you think. It's a very lonely business to make these episodes. I get very little feedback. Of course, when I see some of you in the flesh, people tell me how much it means. But the format of this, I put the episode up, and then you finish listening, and you're already onto something else, or you're in a car, you're doing something else. But find the time. Click a like on Instagram, or send me an email at thewayoftheshowman@gmail.com. Looking forward to hearing from you. And until then, take care of yourself and those you love, and I hope to see you along the way.